What do I do when I get asked for a SOC 2 report and I don't have one? That's a great question. I hear that a lot because they got asked for one. They got a large book of business on the table, and guess what? They want their SOC 2 report and they don't have it, and a lot of times don't even know what it is. So, number one, I got to say, is you need to be thinking about your SOC 2 strategy because companies more and more are being asked for it. And it's a several month cycle, despite what the other companies advertise. You can have it in weeks, and I saw one 30 hours, which is ridiculous. But you need to have a strategy and a plan for how you're going to achieve this initially, but then keep it ongoing because it will directly impact your revenue. So just saying that for there. But what do you do if you get asked and you don't have one? Well, hopefully you have some sort of thought process around it so you're on the path. So if you've engaged with an audit firm, that will buy you time. And so you can say, "Oh, yep, we're working on it. Here's our timeline. I can give you the letter of engagement from the CPA firm. We got it." If you haven't quite gotten to the point of getting your audit scheduled, if you've engaged with a third party to help you through the readiness, to help you through the gap assessment and the remediation process, they'll probably give you a letter of engagement as well. We do that because it tells your client that you're serious about this SOC 2 thing, and so that you're moving through the process. And normally you can get a 6 months to a year pass pretty easily as long as you have a good answer. If you don't have a good answer, like, well, what's a SOC 2, their confidence of you just went down the drain. So you need to make yourself aware of what a SOC 2 is. We have a free course, SOC 2 Essentials. Sign up for it. Take the course. That will give you all the information that you need to know about SOC 2 if you're unfamiliar. So do that. So you're educating yourself. And then on top of that, come up with a plan and a strategy for how you're going to pick this off in your organization. And then hopefully that strategy and that plan will allow you to answer the question. If you have not answered the question, one thing you do, if you have not built your plan and your strategy is what I'm saying, so you don't have a good answer for the question, then what you don't do is give away right to audit for your company. I've worked with companies, very large companies, as a matter of fact, that didn't have their SOC 2, but they gave their client right to audit, which means they were bugging them up one side and down the other. Send me your business continuity plan. Send me this. Send me your policies and procedures. Send me this. Hundreds of documents going back and forth. And quite frankly, that's none of your client's business. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So if you ever SOC 2, that will prevent that. But if you don't give away right to audit. Don't do that. My suggestion would be is help to paint the picture of the good security posture that you do have and that you have put into place, and articulate that to your client. Potentially do a white paper. I've helped companies put together a security white paper. It's not an audit, it doesn't really mean anything, but it does give a little bit more confidence and assurance. And then my suggestion would be is very quickly figure out what your SOC 2 plan is and come back, yep, we're working on it, even though we maybe just started 5 minutes ago, just leave that part out. Yep, we're working on it, we got a plan, I don't have a timeline yet, but here's our security white paper, happy to answer questions about our security posture and move forward from that place. So that's a good way to kind of defray the question when you don't have a SOC 2 report, but the reality is it is something you do need to be thinking about for your business. If you do another certification, that's another way to handle it. So if you're ISO 27001 certified, or you're high trust certified, or even if you've taken the time to align to NIST CSF or some other kind of framework, give them that. That's another great way to respond to it. Is it's part of your security posture, right? I may not have a SOC 2, but I have these other things. And so give them that. And then what questions do you have to answer beyond that? But have good boundaries. Like, no, you may not see all my policies and procedures. No, you may not see, I just had this come up the other day, client reach out that their client was asking them for a copy of their Volscan, which basically is, hey, here's how you can hack me. No, you don't give that to your clients. And so we kind of talked through what would be an appropriate response for that. I understand why they were asking, but no, you can't have the report with all the details of where I'm deficient. And so have good boundaries, share what makes sense to share. Don't share everything. I know in a growing company, you're willing to bend over for whatever they ask you, and that's great, but it's much better to have a good posture up front, decide what you'll share up front, decide what you won't share up front, upfront, be available to answer questions transparently, but have good stopping points about what kind of documentation that you will share. And then have a strategy for how you're going to get compliant to something. SOC 2 is ideal, but high trust is fine too, especially if you're in the healthcare space. That's the standard. High trust is way harder than SOC 2. Just so you know, it's a much broader program. ISO 27001, something, just find something that makes sense, and that will help you to build that security posture and give your clients assurance that, yep, I know what I'm doing and your data will be protected. Because that's really the intent of the question, right? Is how do you know? How do I know if I'm going to use your service and give you my data? How do I know you're going to keep it secure? And so that is really the intent of the question. So then one note on that, if you don't have any data that's regulated, that's a good way to answer these questions too. Like if all you have is your own company confidential data and somebody's just sending you asking for SOC 2 just because that's on their checklist, explain to them that the risk of them using you is low. So you don't need that. It doesn't make sense for my business. We talked to a company a few months ago, as a matter of fact, that had been asked security questionnaires, and they had zero regulated data. I mean, they've got nothing. They don't have people's identities. They haven't got nothing. And so it was a ridiculous question. And so we actually helped them to respond appropriately by, this is not, I appreciate your asking, but this is not really relevant for our business. And here's why: I'm not going to go spend $30K for a SOC 2 when I got nothing. And so, but you just have to help the person on the other side, in this particular case, understand why that makes sense, because a lot of times, unfortunately, these people are just checking boxes. So it's about having that dialogue and helping them to understand what your security posture is and why it makes sense for your business.